Okay, let's talk about the consumer confidence report. And if you're like, Krista, do we have to? Yes, yes, we do. Because it's a big deal, but it's also not a big deal. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time diving into like the history and the methodology and all that, but essentially it's a report of how confident consumers are moving forward. Not hard data like sales or jobs reports. Those are what already happened. This is kind of a vibe for what's to come. It is not the same thing. Someone once on my TikTok tried to tell me that this happens every January, that it drops. No, that is consumer spending. Yes, it drops after the holidays. No, this is people's thoughts about what's going to happen in the future with how they feel about how much money they'll have to spend, etc. Anyway, after all that rambling, if you're still here, it is at its lowest in a decade. That's a little concerning, but it's also not. First off, it has been strong in recent years, because even with the pandemic, even with inflation, people were still quite confident about the future. Whether they should have been or not, they were. And that's not the case right now. But here's what's interesting. So far, the actual reports have not shown an issue with the economy. Of course, the stock market has dropped because of all the tariff talk, all of that situation, but the jobs reports have still been steady. Inflation is still doing all right, but that's not what consumers are feeling or thinking. And I don't want you to take this too far, but we can will our own recession in some ways. What do I mean by that? Well, people still have jobs, people are still spending, people actually have enough money to live, but they start to get anxious about what's coming next, and they start to become more money conscious. They pull back on their spending, and boom, things start to happen, and the real data starts to show a recession. It's kind of how economists are actually worried about all these memes where, throwback to 2008, what's happening, Lady Gaga's releasing pop dance music, etc. They're actually worried about that because that stuff is actually instilling more fear and more worry, which can lead down this path. It's very interesting. I don't know if anybody else is going to find this interesting but me. I think it's really interesting. I think it's something we got to pay attention to because it's real feelings from real people, even if it's not hard data.